Old School RuneScape has tons of bosses suitable for players of all stats and skill levels. Some are great for learning, like Scurious, whilst others, like Barrows, are easy but still solid gold farms. But there are also a ton of bosses that are a complete waste of time for anyone trying to get into PVM in 2025. These are the bosses that will burn through your supplies, teach you nothing, and keep you spinning your wheels in the early to mid game. This video is going to cover the bosses that you should skip if you want to reach the late game faster and start enjoying the more rewarding modern content. A quick caveat, if you're a completionist or going for combat achievements, you might want to knock these bosses out eventually, but I'd recommend waiting until you're a higher level. Focus on learning core mechanics and progressing your account first. Some of these bosses can be fun casually or with friends, and they do offer unique rewards like pets and Slayer helmet recolors. If you want more in-depth information on the bosses that you should be fighting whilst progressing, I've got other guides linked in the description. Let's crack on with two of Jagex's biggest misses, Obor and Bryophyta. Obor is the Hill Giant boss and Bryophyta is the Moss Giant boss. You'll find them under Edgeville and Varrock, and on paper they seem like great intro bosses, but there's one huge problem, the key system. To fight either boss you need a key. Mossy keys and Giant keys drop at rates of 1 in 150 and 1 in 128 respectively. That's a massive grind just to get a single kill. The mechanics are basic. Obor can be frozen and prayed against, and Bryophyta rekills killing Zamads with an axe. Nothing you can't learn from better content. Even if Bryophyta drops a 12mm Bryophyta's essence, the prep time kills any real value. If you're in the early game, you're much better off learning mechanics through fights like Scurious and Amoxliatl. These are both truly amazing pieces of content designed for teaching you the ropes. The King Black Dragon might have the coolest pet in the game, but he's a poor choice for learning or even for profit. Kills are basically break even after supplies and there's barely any mechanics involved. Just bring an anti-poison, anti-fire and use the right prayer. He's also super tanky, which makes long and tedious kills unless you're overgeared. You might want to use the Walk Under trick to reduce some damage taken, but beyond that there is not much to learn at all. Plus, you've got to go through the wilderness just to reach him. Not worth the risk. Especially if you've equipped expensive gear to deal with his tankiness. Instead, look at bosses like the Royal Titans and Huey They offer real mechanics, good loot, and teach useful, relevant skills. Since we're already in the wilderness, let's talk about the Chaos Elemental. Just like KBD, he's tanky, has awful drops, and even more risk. Unlike the KBD, you'll fight him directly in a PK hotspot. He does have a unique mechanic, unequipping your items, which sounds kinda cool but is actually just really frustrating. You can cheese him by luring him to a safe spot, but if you decide to kill him properly, the way players have found to deal with his mechanic is to keep a full inventory of food that does not disappear when eaten, such as pies leaving behind a pie dish, or stews leaving behind a bowl. The problem here is if you get crashed by some PKers, you've got a load of rubbish food, so you're probably going to have a bad time. If you want that wilderness risky content, but with a good reward, try the revamped wildy bosses in a group. Venenatus, Calvarian, and the other guy that I can't remember the name of. These have real mechanics, consistent money-making drops, and the chance for the bank-boosting Void Waker pieces. This one might be controversial, but skip the God Wars dungeon unless you're already in the end game. Bandos and Armadyl gear used to be best in slot, but Blood Moon and Eclipse Moon gear from the Perilous Moons outshine them when paired with their respective weapons. Sure, Bandos and Saradomin in God Wars have niche uses, but nothing that's going to make or break your account. As a main, the bosses hit too hard to be efficiently farmed unless you've got top tier gear and know all of the weird, funky methods where you kite them around the room and don't take any damage. And let's be honest, if you're geared and you know that, you're probably out of the mid game already. The God Wars dungeon doesn't teach many transferable skills. Doing God Wars makes you better at doing God Wars. That's about it. You also rely heavily on rare drops, with average kills barely paying for your supplies. It's not a boss I've ever done, but I'd also advise skipping next. Too hard, too rare drops, and to be honest, it's not remotely mid-game. Instead of doing any of this, just head to Perilous Moons. Better drop consistency, free supplies, and mechanics that apply to modern content. This next one's personal. I had fun and a fair bit of pain on stream doing Dagannoth Kings. They're chaotic solo, but once you've set up, you can isolate each one and use prayer to protect from all damage. The rings are worth a few mil each, so to be fair, the drops aren't awful. But the issue? The absolute trek getting here. Waterbirth Island is a slog, and dying means a nightmare to reclaim gear. I lost 6 mil twice just trying to get back to my grave. So yeah, maybe this one is here because I'm salty, but I've done the combat achievements and I never have to go back here. so that's all good. For the same reasons as the DKs, we've got the Kalphite Queen, another boss with a painful hike and tanky stats. You're meant to melee phase 1 and range phase 2, but let's be honest, everyone killing this boss uses Tumakan Shadow to cheese her with magic. And anyone that's actually going to be finding this guide useful probably doesn't have a Tumakan Shadow. Back in the day, people used full Verax to avoid switching their weapons and armor. That still works, and there's even a combat achievement for it, but again, unless you're doing this for diary tasks or for completionist reasons, it's just not worth it. Loot's bad and progression is non-existent. A better use of your time, Vorkarth and Zulrah, both great for mid-game moneymakers. They'll teach you real useful mechanics and help you learn to manage your resources smartly. Just a reminder that I don't think any of these bosses are worthless. They're all part of the game's history. Some of them are super nostalgic, but if you're trying to get better at old school RuneScape or make gold efficiently, or ideally both at the same time, these are bosses you can just safely skip. Instead, focus on bosses that offer real mechanical learning, consistent profit, and fit in with OSRS's more modern design themes, like Skurius, Amoxliartal, Huicoatl, Perilous Moons, Zulrah and Vorkarth. If you do think any of these bosses are useful, or you think one of them's just fun enough that it's worth grinding even for no reward, let me know in the comments below. I know I spent way more time at the Giant Mole than I probably should have. Maybe that's why he's not featured in the video so far. If you need a hand learning any of this content, please check out my Discord, which is linked in the description. It's full of other learners as well as experienced players, and we're all helping each other out to progress through the game. If you're stuck on a quest boss, want to do your first Tombs of Amascut, or need a duo partner for Royal Titans, it is the place for you. Don't be shy, just drop in and say hello. If you're into watching streams, I'm also trying to go live on YouTube and possibly Twitch in the future a bit more. Right now, I'm streaming my progress from noob to grandmaster all the way through all of the combat achievements. If that's something you're interested in, next time you see me live, drop in and say hi. If you've made it this far, please drop the video a like if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Big shout out to my channel members, Chizomni and Omega0240, both subscribed at the gold tier. If you join them, you can get access to my videos a little early and get a shout out too, as well as a cool little icon next to your name in the comments. That's it from me. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you next time.